Hello, I'm Alan Butler with Butler Contracting, and today I'm here with Julie with Farmers Insurance, and we're just going to talk to you a little bit today about some commonly asked things or some common things that come up in the insurance world as a contractor. And today we're going to talk to you about 4 things you should know about when you make an insurance claim on your home. So thanks for joining us today, Julie.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I guess sometimes we have interesting things that come up during the as a contractor, we'll get called out to homes or to customers, and sometimes they just don't know really what to expect with their homeowners policy, or we come out to help them and they might have a claim. So I was wondering if you could help us out today and just kind of help educate some customers about what to do when they might have a claim. I've got a few questions here I'd like to ask you if you don't mind.
Awesome, perfect. Let's do it.
Great. So if a customer has a damage to their house, what should they do?
Good question. So if a client calls us, we tell our clients to call us first. The first thing we're going to tell them is to do whatever they can to mitigate any further damage. So what this might entail, what this should entail, is getting a professional out to assess the damage, because most of the time we don't know what the damage is. We, as in the client or the homeowner. Even if that is a bit of a cost, I think it's absolutely worth it to have a professional come out, and they're going to be able to document the photo. They're going to take photos with date and time, so you're going to have that tool if you do decide to go on and make a claim. So the first thing is the mitigating the damage and using a professional to assess the damage. And then the second thing is deciding whether it's worth making a claim or not. You're going to want to consider your deductible. If you do decide to make a claim, then you're going to want to call your company. They're going to schedule an adjuster to come out. And at that point, you're going to find out what's covered or what's not covered. And so then at that point, you're going to know moving forward how much is going to be paid by the insurance company and how much is going to be coming out of pocket. So you can make that call and know that before hiring someone and expecting insurance to pay everything.
So yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, a lot of times we come out to clients' homes and they're not really sure what to expect. But they usually call us first sometimes because they don't know if they have an insurance claim. So that's really helpful information. We do damage assessments. We'll come out. We do have a service call rate for that. Whether it's a roof or a water leak or something, we'll come out with moisture meters, take photos, and submit those in so they can send us to their insurance company. So what things do we need to get our clients so they can submit that to their insurance to help with their claim? Could you go over that for us?
Yeah, good question. I think the number one thing is going to be photos and dates, when it occurred, anything that you experienced. That's what the claims adjuster is going to ask. The client will be working with a claims adjuster. An insurance agent can kind of help walk you through the process, but the claims adjuster will tell the client exactly what steps, what things are needed. But I would say the number one thing is photos and dates of damage. So having an assessment and everything in the package just ready to go is going to make the client's life a lot easier, and it's going to make the claims adjuster's life a lot easier too.
Awesome, that's helpful. So after they've gone through that process of getting the damage assessment, we've sent in those photos and the dates and kind of what's going on, and what should they do next? I mean, sometimes I get folks that, they don't want to do anything until their insurance company gets back to them. I guess, what should they do after they have damage? We've gone through that initial assessment. What should be the next steps?
Right. I think in some cases, as we've discussed before, there's going to be times where you really can't wait to find out whether it's going to be covered or not, because this might cause more damage to your home, and that is one of the requirements, is that you do everything you can to prevent further damage. So there are going to be times where you may not be able to wait, and hopefully, if you're working with farmers, that hopefully they can get that information back to you as soon as possible. I know that Farmers has a good reputation of working really quickly and having a really smooth process for the client in that way. But I think in some cases, allowing some work to be done, it might be necessary before finding out all the details from their insurance agency.
Okay, interesting. So some of the folks that are a little concerned about, for me as a contractor, sometimes I come in and They don't want to do anything. They might have water damage or a leaking roof. They don't want us to do any kind of work until they know if the insurance is going to cover it or not. So what you're saying is it's probably a good idea to go ahead and do something to at least protect the property, so to mitigate any further damage. Absolutely. So we should go forward with that, regardless of whether it's an insurance coverable claim or not.
Absolutely, because whether your insurance is going to cover it or not, if you're going to keep living in that home, you probably are going to have to do something. So I think, trying to control the damage is really important.
Okay. What might happen if they don't do that? Say they just want to wait until the insurance folks get back in 2-3 weeks down the road. What are the ramifications of waiting and not doing anything?
Well, if there is further damage, let's say there's a leak or a hole and things continue to leak and damage maybe more items in the house, who's to say that that's going to be covered, and it's going to be up to the claims adjuster to make that decision. But if they fail to protect their home, then that might be go into consideration. There might be further damage that they're going to have to pay for out of pocket that they wouldn't have had to pay for in the first place.
Okay, so you're saying it's possible that they don't protect the property, if there's additional damages or maybe mold or something that occurs from that, it's possible they may have to come out of pocket entirely for those damages.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Possible.
Great. So now we've kind of talked about what the processes are to start a claim or kind of what the expectations are. And one of the interesting things we run into a lot with just insurance policies in general, when we try to talk to customers, they don't always know what kind of insurance policy they might have. Now I know there's a couple different options. Typically there's an ACV policy and an RCV policy. Could you maybe go over what that is exactly and the differences of coverages, so folks would have a better understanding of what they have?
Absolutely. So ACV stands for actual cash value. This means that age, time is going to be, depreciation is going to be taken into consideration in how that property is valued. So when you have a loss or a claim, if your home is 10, 15, or your roof is 10, 15 years old, then you're going to get a percentage of what it would cost to replace that roof, versus getting it replaced at full cost. So with RCV, that stands for replacement cost value. That means that regardless of age, without taking depreciation into consideration, you're going to be reimbursed at today's prices, no matter the time of the loss. So you're going to at market prices at the time of the loss.
Okay.
Yeah, and one other thing to note, I know with farmers, all of our policies are a replacement cost as far as for a total loss, but there are different elements in the policy that we can assign the ACV or the RCV to, and the roof is one of those things, and carpet's one of those things. So it's really important that you consider those things when you're purchasing your policy, and it's something you can always update on your policy too.
Okay. So maybe it might be a good idea for you to go back home and check out your policy and see which one you have. Make sure you're covered appropriately for whatever your situation is.
Yes, absolutely. Because if you look at it, you might be saving to have an ACV policy, but then when there is a loss and there is a claim, that's going to be the time that more is going to come out of your pocket. So maybe you might be paying less yearly, but eventually you might be paying more out of pocket when there is a loss.
Oh, interesting. So you're saying annually you may have a lower premium, but when there is an event where you might need to use the insurance, on the back end you're going to pay more.
Yes.
Okay.
Because less will be covered if you have an ACV policy versus an RCV. Yeah.
Good to know. Yeah. Well, one of the other things we get asked commonly, or a lot of customers are a little concerned about sometimes, is, will my contractor do the repairs for the insurance payout? So a lot of times we get asked, oh, can we do this project for them, or they got this amount of money from the insurance based on their ACV or their RCV coverage. Here's the job, I need this repairs done, here's what I got from the insurance company. Can you do it for that price? Can you kind of go over that and how that works exactly? I think maybe sometimes folks are not 100% sure how that process goes.
Right, yeah, I think, again, understanding your policy and understanding what type of method evaluation you have on your policy is really important. And it is something that a lot of people don't know, so they just expect that there's an issue or a damage that it's going to be covered. But there are a lot of caveats in a policy, and there are a lot of options in a policy. So, first, it's really important to understand what you have, and then second, is understanding that, especially if you do have an ACV policy, that you're only getting a portion from your insurance company of what it would cost to replace something or repair something. So, it's not a quote for the damage, the cost of damage. It could cost more, and that is again where the out-of-pocket might come in. And I think even if you have an RCV, and we think most of the time, you're gonna be able to get everything's going to be covered as long as it's a covered loss established by the claims adjuster. But yeah, and I think from your standpoint, just understanding that what an insurance company is going to cover is not a quote for damage. It's there's a lot of factors that go into that number and how they got there, and it's based on what the policy covers and based on what type of policy you have.
Okay, I appreciate you sharing all that with us. So yeah, that's great information. It's really helpful for us as the contractors to understand, as well as try to educate the homeowners and kind of bridge that gap between the insurance world and the contracting world. We're just trying to help solve their problems, and sometimes we just need to get the right information to them so they understand the process.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's also where, an agent comes in an insurance agent comes in for a client, is to have someone that you can call and discuss and help you understand your policy better and help you understand how things are evaluated when a loss does occur. So yeah, awesome.
Do you have anything else that you think might be beneficial for the audience to know?
Hey, you know what? I'll take questions if people you can put our email up. You can email us anytime or call us. We're the Nutt Agency for Farmers Insurance, and we're really happy to have Alan and his company as a preferred vendor that we recommend to our clients. So yeah, if there's any other questions, any of Alan's clients, we'd be happy to help and answer any questions.
Well, great. We've always had great experiences working with farmers insurance claims, so we really appreciate everything you guys do, and really appreciate you taking the time today to help go through some of these commonly asked questions or common scenarios that come up for us. So we appreciate you helping educate the customers on those things, and hopefully it'll bridge the gap and make it a little bit smoother, because insurance claims are always usually a stressful time. Yes. We're just trying to come in and help people, and sometimes there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of horror stories people hear, so we just want to try to make sure we help them out the best we can. So we really appreciate your time.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, take care. Have a good day.